Welcome back to Big Body, Bigger Mouth, the show that will make you laugh, possibly cry, and decide whether or not me, Kelsey Belcher, your host, should be allowed on the internet. Today, I am with my producer, Drew Cappuccino. He might be jumping in, talking about, whatever, getting into content today. So warm welcome to him.
Hello.
And also, don't forget to like and subscribe to 216 The Net, where all of these will be available. And we drop these episodes on Mondays, every other Monday at 5 p.m. And we'll be doing a live episode this month, so look out for that too. So today, we'll be talking about fangirling. I've been a fangirl since I was like 8 years old. And we're going to be talking about kind of like the fangirl things I've been a part of, what they meant to me, and all the things in between. So what it means to be a fangirl is just so girl-coded. I think that everybody has definitely had an idol, a boy band, a certain person on the internet that they've just idolized and loved the absolute shit out of. And I have been kind of a part of a lot of those. I think I'm kind of a diehard, though, because I've been a part of these for like 10 plus years, and I will take that to my grave. So we'll start off with when I was a kid. I was super into Big Time Rush. And if you guys don't know what Big Time Rush is, you are living under a rock, because they were like the best boy band on Nickelodeon ever. It was James Maslow, Carlos Pena, Logan something, kind of forgot his name, and Kendall Schmidt, I think. And I remember liking them like it was yesterday. I was in my like living room with my parents, who were together at the time, so let's just say that was a long time ago. And Nickelodeon came out with an ad that said like, oh, new show, Big Time Rush, it's about a band getting their start up and blah blah blah. And we're like, oh, we should watch that. And we watched that episode, and well, ever since that happened, it has just been it was just a ride ever since. I was a part of their Rusher fan club. I got like exclusive posters. I saw them on tour twice. And then the best thing in my life happened when I was in third grade. I was on the bus, and it was like around Halloween. And my mom was like, oh, we're going to pick you up from school today. And I was like, okay, like weird, but all right. And I did my little parade. I was like walking around in my little ladybug costume. And my parents came, and they're like, hey, we're not going to do the parade. Like, we have to go. And I'm like, why do we have to go? And she's like, because Big Time Rush is in Schaumburg, which is like close to the studio. And they're like, you're going to meet Big Time Rush. There was a video of me slapping the car, screaming and crying for like 15 minutes. And I was like, there's no way. There's no way. I wished on every star, blew every dandelion, literally every wish. If I had a genie at that time, I would have said, meet Big Time Rush. Like, I thought like my dreams are coming true. So we got ready. She got me like a little custom t-shirt that said like Big Time Rush loves Kelsey. And I had this little short pixie cut. I looked very similar to Dora, just much larger for a third grader. And we drove to it was a Borders bookstore, which I don't even think they have those anymore.
I don't even know if they have those anymore.
I thought that Barnes and Noble was going down.
Yeah.
But now they're popping up everywhere. But Borders long gone.
Yeah.
And it was the Borders in Schaumburg, Illinois. And the amount of people there, oh my God. It was literally like they took like a Twitter picture, because my mom made a scrapbook after. And it literally was like a sea of girls. Like, it literally was like down the staircase, wrapped around the whole building. And I found out later that my family waited 14 hours in like 20 below. like on and off of like taking turns going to the car for me to be able to meet them.
Holy shit, that's dedication.
Yeah. And my mom's like, I would do it again and again and again. Like it was probably one of the best days of my life.
That's awesome.
And that's what fangirling means to people. Like having something, having an outlet, having something to go home to at the end of a long school day, or when you're in the dark and you just put it on and you feel so much better. That is what it's about. And when I was a kid, that's what it was for me. But I was very convinced I was going to marry James Maslow, who was like the sexy one. I was like, he's my husband. Like, I'm going to marry him, as he's like 20 and I was like 8, like super like inappropriate and illegal. I'm like, that's my husband. And so like we got there and they're like, no pictures. Like you can't take any pictures. Like it's a signing. It's not like, we're not taking pictures, whatever. And so my dad had this like little flip phone and he like went over the bookshelf and took a picture, kicked him out. Like kicked him out. He got a few good pictures, kicked him out. And so we get up there and it's like there's one kid in front of me and then James is like the first one you meet because they were like in a line. So you got to meet them. They like shook your hand. They like signed your album and like moved to the next one. And they were like, they're not signing anything else. Don't ask. Don't give them anything, like whatever. And so James is like looking at me and all of a sudden I go blank. Like I literally like my skin is like white and I just forget how to talk. I go up to him and he's like, hi sweetheart, what's your name? And I literally just go like literally mouth open, just like staring at him.
You're like, I like crayons.
I'm like, you're handsome. Like, and my mom like smacks me and goes, Kelsey, tell him your name. And he goes, oh, Kelsey, that's such a pretty name. And I was like, like drooling, like literally like, yeah.
Marry me.
Yeah, literally. And I'm like crying. I'm like literally there's like tears in my eyes and I'm literally just go like completely blank. And so he's like, it's nice to meet you. Like, thanks for being a fan. And I'm like, you got it, buddy. And so we move down the line, whatever. And then I had a Big Time Rush themed bedroom. See, I wasn't like one of those normal fangirls. I was like one of those cracked out ones. So like my whole bedroom, like literally set on the wall, Big Time Rush loves Kelsey. And my younger best friends will attest to this. There was probably like 200 Big Time Rush posters in that room. Like it was literally covering like all the walls. Had a comforter.
Oh boy.
It was terrible.
Yeah. Do you ever see you walk into somebody's room and it's nothing but dolphins? You're like, you're a lunatic.
Yeah. Right. But now it's just a bunch of teenage boys like looking at you while you're sleeping. And so my mom like had a picture like hanging out of her like coat jacket. So Kendall and Carlos like saw it and they're like, oh, is that her room? And my mom's like, yeah, like that's her bedroom. And they're like, let us sign it. And they were like, that's so cute.
That's cool.
Yeah. And they signed it and they're like, that is so cute of her. And I was like, yes, it is. Come home with me. Like you can see it in person. Like, so then, yeah, they like signed it. Everyone was like so nice. Logan, okay, no shade, but he was like a little like seemed like he didn't want to be there as much. Which like, I mean, I'm sure they did like 20 signings within like 3 days, like, you know, like something crazy.
He could have been cooked. You know,
yeah, he could have been.
It's a job.
Right.
So
there was an interview that came out that Snoop Dogg was on an episode of Big Time Rush, and an interview came out where they're like, we smoked fat with Snoop Dogg. And it was hilarious. So I just was like, yeah, like this is fantastic. And then I went outside and cried like for probably 25 minutes. Like the aftershock like washed over me. And I was like, wow, this is girlhood. Yeah. This is like what it's like. And then ever since then, it just spiraled and tumbled, and I'm just this cracked out fangirl still. Like, Big Time Rush came back in concert to Chicago last year. I didn't go, but I'm not a Big Time Rush fan as I am a 5 Seconds of Summer fan. But we'll get there. That's the biggie. That's the end of the episode. And then that was like all of my childhood, was loving Big Time Rush and loving their music and being a dedicated fan and just like just loving it, like loving and like just living in the whole like Nickelodeon Big Time Rush like world. And then it kind of gives me a sense of like nostalgia and like my childhood of like, this is what it was like growing up like as a little girl and loving something so much, and that just will never be taken away from me, you know, like, and coming home on a bad day being like, can we listen to my Big Time Rush CD? Like, it's an outlet, you know, it's a really big outlet. And someone like Brittany Broski, who runs the Broski Report, is a fangirl, and she's like 27 or like 26. I think she's like 26, but it never goes away. Like, once you have something you love like that, it does not stop. Like, you find new interests, you find new things that you love. And once a fangirl, always a fangirl. I don't care. And guys are fangirls too. Okay. Like, some of my guy friends will tell me like, all right, so I listen to 5 Seconds of Summer. And like, was that my doing? Yes. But I love it. Like, I loved it. And like the fan bases you have and like the people you meet and how it just grows, and it's just like this mutual love for something. It's a really beautiful thing that I hope that everyone experiences on the internet. There's so much bad on the internet. There truly really is. And in the media and just like news is just like gross. There's like nothing ever good in the news.
It's
like,
the rabbit hole, right? So you start watching one thing, the algorithm picks it up. Next thing you know, you're watching nothing but it.
Right. And then just like, then you get like fucked up videos, like beheadings. Hello on Instagram. Like, and then
I was trying to find a recipe.
Right. Like, I was trying to make lasagna. Like, now you're on like some like government secret like website.
Right.
And it's like
snuff films.
And it's just like, you need that stuff. Like, you know, like, and if I had a little girl, like when I'm like older and like have a kid, I would be like, you need to find something that you just love like this, because it gets you through it, you know, like it really does. And it gives light to kind of like the dark inner web of mess. So, but so that was my adolescence. That was my childhood, was Big Time Rush. And One Direction came out at that time too. But I was a hater. I was a One Direction hater, which shout out Harry Styles, happy birthday. But like, he's watching. He's not, I promise he's not watching. But I didn't like One Direction until way later. Like, literally, I think like 6 months or maybe a year before they broke up, which was so devastating.
Now, somebody told me One Direction was put together by Simon Cowell.
Yes.
Is that true?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
They were on America's Got Talent, I think. But they all were like separate. And then he like was kind of like, you guys are going to audition together.
Okay.
And we're creating One Direction. And now he's like a bajillionaire of like, right. Yeah. So no, he put it together. I didn't even know that for like so many years. Like, cause I just saw like on the posters and like, does anyone remember those like teen girl magazines? They were called like always something stupid, like Teen Lover magazine, and it was like all of them on the cover.
Chapstick.
Yeah. Right. Like I don't even know. Like, they were all stupid, but or like Teen Vogue, like just all those kind of magazines. I had all of them.
They're like glamour magazines.
Yes.
For teenagers.
Yeah. Right. And they were awesome. Like, honestly, I'd work for one of those. They have a new like fangirl kind of magazine now called Pleaser online, which that'd be so cool to work with them. So we'll see.
Well, that name alone sounds like a different show.
Yeah, right. And so I remember getting that magazine for the Big Time Rush posters, and I got it one day and there was like a new like One Direction, and I was like, who are they? And then like someone put on like, I don't know if it was like a poll or something in one of the magazines that's like, are you a rusher or a directioner? And I was like threatened by One Direction. I'm like, they're gonna overthrow Big Time Rush. Like, what am I gonna do? So I just was like boycotting One Direction. And then I found out years later that my favorite band now, 5 Seconds of Summer, got their start by touring with One Direction. So by default, I was like, okay, maybe they're not so bad. And then I loved them too. So then middle school, I feel like, was a really big turning point in social media for me. That was like 2014, 15. That's, I feel like, when Instagram blew up, when Snapchat blew up. That, I mean, obviously people were using it before then, but I feel like that's when
social media really made its presence, right?
Yes, and that was honestly not a great thing in retrospect, being in middle school. Middle school is hard enough. And then you're adding likes and posts and reposts and like the validation of followers and all of that. And that's a lot for like especially young women to go through. And I kind of found the light in it and I was like, all right, like this is fun. And so YouTube kind of, I feel like, started more of less of kind of the content that was like, oh, funny dog videos and like, oh, get ready with me. Get ready for school with me. Or I'm going to eat this hot pepper. Like, you know what I mean? Like it kind of started like almost like the creator fund of like YouTube. So then I started like liking YouTubers. And I was like, okay, like I remember the summer of 6th going into 7th grade. It was like the most beautiful, warm, sunny summer, like no thunderstorms, no anything. And I stayed inside in the air conditioning and binge watch YouTube the entire summer. Like, are you kidding? Like my mom would be like, come outside. Like, it's so nice out. And I would take the iPad outside because I just was like so like infatuated by these YouTubers. And like, that's what I wanted to be. Like, that's how, like, honestly though, as much as being exposed to social media that young isn't always the best, it set me up for this. Like, this is what I want to do, like entertainment and podcasting and honestly YouTube and like just all the social medias and like not only managing other people's, but just like kind of becoming a creator myself. Like I know that influencing is like kind of crazy to say and it's not the easiest road to take, but it's something that I want to do. Like I want my presence out there. And without those young years on YouTube, I would have never known that. I would have just been like, I want to be a doctor, which that's great. I'm not knocking doctors, but, and also I'm not that smart to be a doctor. But it's just, it's not, it kind of was like a new wave of jobs and like entertainment and just like a new way of like a new outlet really that people could escape to. And a lot of my mental health issues arose in middle school. So it's like I would kind of go through it and then I'd be like, yeah, I'm going to watch a video or I'm going to listen to 5 Seconds of Summer. And that like really changed my perspective and it kind of like kept me going for like a lot of it. And so on YouTube, I discovered O2L. Do you know what O2L is?
I don't.
It's called Our Second Life. And it was like 5 or 6 guys who all lived in this like content creator house. And it was like the first creator house on YouTube where besides like Team 10 with Jake Paul and whatever else was way
so
later.
We could truly say it's like reality TV that's gone in social media.
Kind of, yeah. They didn't really film too much around the house that I remember, but it was like each day was a new guy. Okay. So like Monday was like Connor Franta, Tuesday was like whoever, like, and it went down the week. So you got a new video tied to that account every day for a week. And marketing wise, genius because they always had something coming out. Like there wasn't just like a stagnant, oh, 1 week we post and then now a week we don't. Like it was every single day was something. And before people know me in this town as Kelsey Hemmings, I'm going to tell you guys my truth. That's not my real last name. Luke Hemmings is the lead singer in 5 Seconds of Summer. And I, on all my social medias, am Kelsey Hemmings. So for years, when people would talk to other people, they'd be like, oh, you know Kelsey Hemmings. And then my like best friends were like, yeah, I know her. Like, it was just like stupid. But before I was Kelsey Hemmings, people may know from middle school, I was Kelsey Franta, which Connor Franta was Monday of the week for O2L. And I like loved his videos, all his content. He did like Q&As and like just all of it. I lived, breathed, and died for that man. He came out with a book, bought the book, never read the book, but I bought it. And I just like literally loved him. They went on tour. because you know how they do like, you know, like VidCon and all that. I like literally was like begging on my hands and knees to my parents, like, let me go to VidCon or DigiFest or something. Like, I need to meet O2L. And they're like, you're on cocaine. We are not flying to Los Angeles to go to this like 1 million person creator fest to stand in lines all day that you might not even be able to meet them. You're crazy. We're not doing that. And so I was like, okay, like whatever. And so I remember just like a random day in the summer, Connor had posted on Twitter, because that's like Twitter was really big back then too, especially for like video announcements. And if they had to miss an episode, you'd like go and check Twitter. And so Connor was like, hey guys, like I have something I have to say. Like tune in to like today's episode. And I'm like, okay, this might be clickbait, but I'm watching it as soon as it comes out. So I like waited, and he came on, and he's like, and then after James Maslow, I thought, I'm going to marry Connor Franta, right? That was like the new step. And he comes out and he's like, I'm gay. And I'm like, okay. So it was like very comforting because I'm like, if I can't be with him, no other woman can. So I was like thrilled. I was like, okay, this is the best news I've ever heard. And then I don't know if it was like a few months or a few weeks later, the real O2L stans will remember, Connor ended up leaving O2L, which at that time was my like reason for breathing. So I was at my friend's house at the time, and he came out with the video. We watched it. I sat in silence, went home, cried for 3 days straight. Like, actually, I don't think I've cried for that much amount of time ever in my life. And I cried literally till there were no more tears left. And I didn't leave my room or turn on the light for 3 whole days. I was like, this is terrible. Like, what am I going to do? And then he decided, like, he was still making videos on his main channel. He does TikTok, you know, whatever. But the wave of like YouTube creators really kind of went down as time went on. Like, I feel like after like Jake Paul, at least for me, when Jake Paul got big, I was like, oh, I can't do this anymore. Like, I don't watch YouTube like I used to. I still love YouTube, but it's not like I'm like checking in weekly for the updates and the new whatever. But that was the beginning of middle school for me.
Did you ever find that you had to unplug, that it was just overwhelming, the amount of data that you're just taking in your brain?
Honestly, I should have. But I think that time, to me, it was like, I'm like dealing with like all of this all day. Yeah. And that was almost my unplug, was to watch it. Wow. So then, but there were days I would get like super bad headaches, or like I'm really exhausted because I'd be up at 3 a.m. watching YouTube, and then I have to get up at 6 a.m. to go to middle school. Yeah. And I would do it because I'm just like, well, all day I just like deal with middle school bullshit. Like, I just want to like come home and watch my videos. Like, but it was a lot of data and like a lot of like headaches and blue light and radiation. That probably was definitely not good, but I definitely should have had days where I'm like, I'm going to like color or read today, you know, which is what I'm mindful of doing now, because it's like having, like, not to sound like whatever, but like having your phone attached to your hip, having to go on your like technology during the school day. Like, obviously I'm not in high school anymore, I'm in college, but all of our assignments are online. So it's like you're on your computer all day, you're on your phone all night. Anything you do is just like, it's technology based. Like, so it's like, it's good to unplug. It's good to just like, I'm going to do this today, or I'm going to go outside. Like, it's like 50 degrees today and it's February 1st. It's gorgeous. Like, I had my windows down. I'm like waving a flag outside, like, hallelujah. Like, I'm so sick of winter. And like, when you're locked up in the house, and like, I'm single, you know, people have like other people, you know, like, oh, well, I my boyfriend, we go on dates. Good for you, girl. I don't have that. Like, sure, I have like friends who come over, like a guy who I like see, you know, whatever. But it's like, it's me and my dad, you know, we're watching Reba. We're watching Reba McEntire show Reba. We're watching Modern Family. Like, we're watching TV together. That's like our bonding, you know? And it's like we both work a long day and like we come home and spend time together. But if we don't, I'm in my room on my phone or I'm like sitting there like reading something. You know, it's just not unplugging gets harder. I feel like the more you're like alone. But those are the times you need to do it, you know, because your self-love and everything isn't going to come from the internet, especially as a woman. Like watching like Instagram models and like watching a guy's following. Oh my God, I'd rather die. Like a guy, you know, on Instagram, you look at his following list and it's all like, I don't even know, just like Instagram model, his ex-girlfriend, his ex-girlfriend's best friend. Like, it's like dangerous. It's just not something to do. So
it's a constant room full of pretty people, right?
Exactly. And I can't.
What better way to make you feel better about yourself?
Right. And then
my wife and I do that all the time. We're like, oh God, here's another one.
I know. And like I get like ads all the time. They're like, take this for bloating, lose weight on here. And I'm like, okay, girl, like you don't need to clock me like that. Like, and it's like that's so upsetting. Like I just wish content creation was like back then, like how it was when I was in middle school, where it really did seem to be a safer space on the internet. But so now here's the biggie. This is the number one fandom I'm a part of, and I will be a part of till the day I die. And it is the 5 Sauce Fam, 5 Seconds of Summer. So there used to be a Target in our hometown that was then a Big R and now is like a storage facility. Like, and I remember walking in that original Target and going through the album aisle. And I was like, I want some new music. And I had a little Strawberry Shortcake, no joke, like a CD player. And I was like, all right, like, what's going on here? So I pick up this like little CD. I was like in the car with one of my best friends, Quinn, and we were driving and we heard the song She Looks So Perfect, and which was the start of like 5 Seconds of Summer's like fame and like kind of like attention was that song. And we heard it and we're like, oh, this is like fire. Okay, like this is music. And I went to Target like the next day with my mom and they had albums. There was their debut album. And I was like, Mom, can I like use my allowance to like get this CD? And she was like, whatever, put it in the cart. Like, let's get our groceries and get the fuck out of here. Like, it's a Saturday and we're at the grocery store. So I come home and I put on YouTube on like my little box TV. Like it was not a flat screen. It was nothing. Like it was like one of those, like if you dropped it on somebody, they die. Like kind of like hefty TVs.
Yeah.
And it had like YouTube on it still. So I put on YouTube and I put on She Looks So Perfect, like the music video. And I'm like watching the music video and I like Luke like comes in the screen. And I remember I started like sweating. Like I literally was like sweating and I was like, who is this man? I'm like, that's a man. Which he was like 17 like in this, but I was like 13, so like whatever.
Sure.
And I'm like, oh my God. Like he had like this like quiffed hair, a lip ring. I was like, oh my God, that's my new husband. So I'm watching the video and
we've had like 3 new husbands.
3 new husbands. Right. This is my forever husband. Okay. We've been married for like 10 years now.
Allegedly,
right. And up here.
Right.
In the danger zone. But so I'm like watching him on this, and 5 Seconds Summer consists of a bassist, Callum Hood, another guitarist, Michael Clifford, the drummer, Ashton Irwin, and the lead singer and vocalist, Luke Hemmings. And I see him and I'm like, okay, my whole life trajectory has changed at this point. Like, I'm like, this is real life. So I get the CD, I listen to all the songs, and I'm like loving it. I'm like, oh my God. Like, and I still have that original first album that I bought like 11 years ago. And I just fell in love with it. I was like, I love their music. I love the fan base. I went on to create a fan account And when I was in middle school, so like 7th grade, I created this fan account called Lukey's Lip Rings. If anybody follows it, I'm so sorry because they're like cringy edits and like, oh God, terrible. But that account got over like 1.1 thousand followers.
Well,
For like back then, that was like a lot. Like
Yeah,
my
that's a lot.
main account only had like 600, 500, whatever. And like that account ended up getting like 1,200 like people, and like that we all would like talk about it and like, oh, they're coming out with this single, they're doing this, you know, whatever. And it slowly became me and my dad's thing. So every concert, every time they posted a video, I was like, Dad, like we gotta go, we gotta watch it. So my first Five Sauce concert was at a jingle ball or like a jingle bash where they get all the like creators and like musicians to come and they like all perform. You get to see like a bunch of people for like $100. Like it's a good deal. And so I found out that Five Sauce was coming to this. And I'm like, Dad, if you love me, you're taking me. And he was like, okay, like I'll look for tickets. So he looked for tickets. I'm all the way in like nosebleed 300, but for some reason there was like a space where you could like directly see Luke from. And I was like, all right, this is the best day ever. So my mom, it was like the Christmas ones. So she got me a shirt that said, all I want for Christmas is Luke Hemmings. And it was like all custom made. And I wore a sparkly hat, like whatever. So I go with my dad. And on the stage, Luke like walks like, and for some reason he like looks up, and I swear like maybe I was just crazy. We like dead made eye contact, and he was like, and I flip my balls. I literally punch my dad who's not paying attention, and legend says he still has the bruise. He still talks about the pain in his arm, and I'm like, Dad, did you see that? Like it was crazy.
He's into me.
Yeah. He's like, he was looking at me.
That's right.
So that was my first Five Sauce concert. Now I've been to 11. They're coming on tour again this summer, I believe. Better bet your ass I'll be there. And then I've been to their sound check too, which is like the little like pre-show where you go in and they like do the whole thing, and then they like answer questions. So Luke, his old username used to be Luke is a penguin. I don't know, but
that's weird.
It was super weird, but I was like, whatever. So in a 90 degrees, I decided I'm gonna wear a penguin onesie to this outdoor venue, and he'll notice me. And I was right. I went to sound check, and the drummer was like, hey, are you okay? You like look very hot in there. And I was looking at Luke. I didn't even like hear the first half of what he was saying, because like between like me and my producer, which is like 2 feet, that's how distance I was from them to me.
Oh wow.
So I was like, oh, I'm good, I'm hot, I'm dying. That's all I said to him. And they're like laughing. They're like, oh my God, you're so cute. Like, whatever. And I was just like, it was like the whole Big Time Rush thing happening, but now in like my growing adulter brain. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like instead of being a kid being like, oh my God, like now it's like a growing up, going through puberty woman. So it was like amped to 3,000. And then that day I was like, I don't know, maybe like 10th row, 13th row or something. And there was another like cutout, and Luke walked up. Literally the spotlight hit him. He looked at me and sang me like the whole verse of this one song. And I was just sitting there like screaming and crying. Like you would have thought you just like skinned my cat alive and like threw it on the wall. Like everyone just like cleared too. It was so weird. It was like everyone just like, it was just like crazy. And that was probably the best day of my life. Like honestly, the best day of my life. Like, and my dad loves it. He won't admit to it, but he sings the songs. He cries. Like he cried the whole concert too. He even yelled to the drummer, I love you, Ashton.
Oh.
He's gonna kill me for for selling this story.
Nice work, Dad.
He loved it. It's just like our thing, you know, like my parents were going through really hefty, not great time in middle school, and that was my for real outfit.
Well,
like,
these are the memories that you're creating with your father, which is a great thing to do.
And he had moved out. So like I didn't move with him. So it's like I would see him every night. We'd go on a drive. We'd listen to Five Sauce. And then I'd stay at his house one day. We'd listen to Five Sauce all day. We'd watch their videos. We'd watch the movie. We'd watch the documentary, like everything that came out. That was like our thing. And I wouldn't want it with anybody else.
Yeah.
And then in middle school and stuff, it was really weird. It seemed like they always like released songs about like stuff I was going through, because they're like a punky pop kind of band. And literally the year my parents separated, they came out with a song called Broken Home, which was like literally about like a parent's divorce. And it was just like, I felt so like heard, I was just like, how does that even happen? And every time they come out, I'd go to a Target. They always released a Target exclusive album. I'd buy the album. I'd come home. I'd put it in my Strawberry Shortcake record player. And I've done that like ever since. And now like they make solo stuff. They're still a band. One of them's a dad. Luke's getting married.
I love how you nonchalantly talk about your Strawberry Shortcake record player.
Thank you. It's ridiculous. Like it literally is like the shape of a strawberry with like her on the front. I got it when I was like 4 years old, and that thing's still kicking.
That's your go-to,
right? Like out of all the things, like not a car.
You're like, guys, check this out, and then you put a record on, and they're like, "What's wrong with you?"
Right? And they're like, "Why do you have that?" And I'm like, "That's the record player
because it works."
Right? Exactly. And then. Yeah, it's just, it's just been, I can't express the like love I feel for that band. Like I've felt like I said, I loved Big Time Rush. I loved O2L. I loved, all these things, but what I have for 5 Seconds of Summer is just like out of this world. Like they were really truly like there. It felt like when I needed them. They came out with a campaign or like a thing that said like real bands save fans, real fans save bands. Like they were very like a positive space to be around, and like their fan base is always super nice. Like I've met like a bunch of people, like internet friends from there. Like it was just a beautiful thing to be a part of, and I will forever be a part of it.
That's a mindset thing too, right? Yeah. So like when you're on your lows, you listen to their music, you do whatever, because it puts you back into that frame of mind.
Exactly. You wanna be, right? Exactly. Yeah. I even have, you can't see it now, but I have Luke Hemming's autograph tattooed on my arm. Like, and me and my dad are getting like, there's a song called Disconnected. And one of the lyrics is, "You are my getaway," and the other one's, "You're my favorite place." So me and my dad are getting them like tattooed.
Oh, that's cool.
And like my overall dream of life is to like meet them, like especially Luke. So I'm hoping that one day the podcast blows up enough where I'm like interviewing them. Like I'd flip out. Like that's like a pipe dream.
So Luke, if you're out there,
right? Like if you listen to this, come to 216 the net.
Yeah. Come check us out at 216 the net on YouTube there.
Right.
Make sure you like, subscribe, ding that bell.
Ding that bell.
And then we will put you in touch with Kelsey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, nah, listen. But you know what?
Not yet. If you're friends with Luke.
Right. If you know him at all. But it just, that's my fangirl episode. But before we go, the Valentine's Day special is coming out this month, and we'll be talking about embarrassing date stories, Tinder DMs that should not have been ever said, and all different kinds of things about love and dating as a plus size woman. I can't wait for that to come out. So I need you guys to DM me on Instagram at kel.b2002 and let me know your embarrassing date stories and your embarrassing Tinder DMs and good stories, bad stories. Tell me about your love life. And yeah, that will be coming out soon. So I will see you guys later. Thank you for watching.